2023 saw moments of hope and diplomatic feats, a flurry of pacts signed. Saudi Arabia and Iran were reconciled in an unprecedented truce brokered by China. Syria was welcomed back to the Arab fold. Accords signed, relations mended, all brought hopes of stability to a region marred by decades of conflict. Here's a report.
For decades, the headlines on West Asia were all about its conflicts, rivalries, and proxy wars. The rest of the world kept out the West Asian countries from their blocs and snapped ties with them up until 2023, when the cold reality of the need for stability raised new prospects for peace. Riven by animosities, the region was willing to mend its relations. Attempts were made to reconcile for a better tomorrow. For the region and its regimes, the biggest and most unexpected of these big diplomatic thaws involved Saudi Arabia and Iran. Tensions between the Sunni powerhouse Saudi Arabia and Shia-majority Iran dominated the region for decades. The two countries were locked in an intense rivalry that played out through proxy conflicts. The final nail in the coffin came in 2016 when Saudi Arabia executed prominent Shia cleric Nimr al-Nimr. Iran was outraged. Angry protesters burnt down the Saudi embassy in Tehran. They stormed all its diplomatic posts in Iran. The Saudi kingdom retaliated by breaking its ties with Iran and stepping up hostilities. However, on the 10th of March 2023, there was a surprise announcement. Saudi and Iran said they were stepping back from conflict. It was a diplomatic feat achieved by China. Beijing hailed the truce as a victory for dialogue. World leaders welcomed it as a turning point for West Asia. Keen on stabilizing the region and its neighborhood, Saudi Arabia next warmed up to Iran's ally, Syria. Rumors of a Saudi rapprochement with Syria have been talked about since 2018. That was the year the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain restored ties with Damascus. But for 5 years, nothing concrete happened until Russia brokered a deal. Soon, Syria was cozying up with the same leaders who shunned it a decade ago. Until January, no one would have talked of Syria returning to the Arab fold, let alone Saudi Arabia spearheading the efforts. In April, Saudi and Omani delegations reached Sana'a, the Yemeni capital under Houthi control. The aim was to end years of war in the dragged-out conflict. Days later, Saudi and Yemen saw a major prisoner swap. In 3 days, around 900 prisoners were freed. Officials kept meeting for months later, raising hopes for peace in Yemen. The troop had two big names plastered all over it: Russia and China, the emerging two big players in West Asia. Both were looking to widen their international role. But unlike Uncle Sam, for years the US involved itself directly in the power play of West Asia. Moscow and Beijing, however, do not wish to be party to the regional conflicts. They want to gain allies, the ground for strategic and economic cooperation. The peace moves in West Asia took Washington by surprise. The US was no more the decision maker, but instead it was relegated to an observer. What followed was the news of talks between US, Saudi Arabia and Israel. There were also reports of Jeddah formalizing ties with Israel. But things soon took a turn for the worse. The Hamas attacked Israel on the 7th of October. The war it triggered in Gaza did not only halt the Saudi-Israel talks, but also put the much-praised Abraham Accords at stake. And that is where the world stood at the end of 2023.